How's it going, everyone? Kapinarmic here with another episode recap. I really wasn't planning on recording one of these today. I actually had an entirely different video set out to record today that I'm actually going to record right after this, pretty much. But, I figured I should record this first while I still have the emotions after watching the episode, because I just finished watching the Adventure Time episode, The Pajama War, Season 6, Episode 23, premiered January 8th, 2015, and, I'm just gonna talk about it for a while. I'm gonna recap on it for you guys. Now, as a little bit of a backstory, I consider myself to be a fan of Adventure Time, and I really enjoy it, and the things it does at times, and some of the themes it tackles, and how deep it could be sometimes. But, you know, sometimes they don't do so, sometimes they don't do so well, other times they do really great, and, as a whole, I think, well, personally for me, Season 5 is my favorite season to this date. Prior to that, Season 2 used to be my favorite season, but I just felt Season 5 as a whole was really, really strong, and, with me coming out of Season 5 with such positivity, I was really hyped up for Season 6 and what it could have potentially held, and as a whole, so far, and Season 6 is almost over, there's only like maybe 4 or 5 more episodes left in this season, and as a whole, Season 6 has not been the glorified season that I was hoping it would be. Really, in all honesty, I think maybe there are like 3 or 4 episodes that I've premiered in Season 6 so far that I could really say, hey, that was a great episode. Breezy being like the top one. I still think Breezy's my favorite episode of Season 6, but really what I'm getting at is, the Pajama War, basically I'm a week late on it, and, my friend was telling me about it, because we were talking about Adventure Time and its ups and downs and stuff, and basically we both watched the Pajama War together, and I came out of it, and I'm like, and I felt like I wasn't entirely sure what to feel, and you're gonna realize why as I, go further into this recap. So basically what the plot of this episode is that there is a slumber party at the Candy Kingdom. It basically starts off with quite a few references to the first episode of Adventure Time. Like one of the first things that happens is Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig are coming up to the Candy Kingdom, and Finn is like, Tree Trunks, get those hot buns in there, girl. And, like the first episode, she has hot buns in a basket, but Mr. Pig thinks that Finn is talking about the other hot buns. And then there's also another reference, because all the candy people and PB and Finn, they're playing musical chairs near the beginning, and PB and Finn end up losing the round, and as penalty they have to do the whole 7 minutes in heaven thing, which is also a reference to the first episode of the show. So there are these I think those are the 2 main references to the first episode. Not entirely sure why they're there. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying it's interesting that they're there. Maybe because the first one was Slumber Party Panic, and that was when it was basically a fake slumber party. Now it's a real slumber party, so, if the callback fits, then use it. So that's cool. So basically, after PB and Finn go into the closet, PB is all like, you want to just ditch this slumber party and just do whatever? And Finn's like, yeah, sure. And they go out through a secret exit out of the closet. And it was at this point, or a few seconds after this point, that I realized that this is basically I don't know if I want to say character-driven or character-developing episode. It's much like the season 1, I believe it's season 1 episode of Henchmen with Finn and Marceline, where nothing necessarily important happens. Like, there's no straightforward plot, like, we need to save something from this, or we need to accomplish this. It's just like two characters just interacting with each other and getting to know each other a little bit better. The main thing is, I not saying Pajama War is a bad episode yet, but I am saying, comparing the two, Pajama War and Henchmen, I do believe that Henchmen was able to accomplish that goal much better than Pajama War, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. So, basically, Finn and Princess Bubblegum leave, and the candy people are all like, well, first they're curious. They're like, I wonder what's going on in there, because 7 minutes in heaven, and Crunchy is all like, somebody should listen, and everybody nominates Crunchy to listen in on what's going on in there. And before I go a bit further, Crunchy, he's been in a few episodes. I actually had to like search what episodes he's been in, because this is like the first time in an episode where he's had like a major role. Other episodes, like his first episode was in You Made Me, and he didn't really have any real lines, and it's just like, he's been in a couple episodes, but this is the first time he's been like a quote important unquote character, so it's nice to see the Adventure Time crew giving him some stuff to say and some stuff to do, and building a little bit of a character on him. I say a little bit of a character because, well, I'm gonna get into that later. So, Finn and Princess Bubblegum are just chilling and just spending the day together, just hanging out. And it's very strange for me to watch that. Like, it wasn't, like, it's not bad, you know, like, none of the lines were really off, the writing wasn't off, it just felt like a sudden jump in emotion, not in the episode itself per se, but in the Adventure Time storyline as a whole, because we all know how Finn has been like in the past. Like, first he was with Bubblegum, and then he was with Flame Princess, and then he was with a whole bunch of people, and, you know, then he was just like, whatever. And now, there's like speculation that he has the hots for Bubblegum again, and the thing is, I am not so sure I want to be so quick to believe that. And I think that's a bad thing, because I don't know what to think about the relationship between Finn and Princess Bubblegum, because this episode, okay, remember when I brought up Henchmen a bit earlier, one of the main things that Henchmen did that makes it triumph over what this episode was trying to do is because while it was a character developing plot and it didn't have a lot of plot, it still felt like it had an ending. It felt like it ended. At the end of the episode, you felt like something was accomplished, that being that there was a stronger, friendlier relationship between Finn and Marceline. This episode, Pajama War, it feels like it started something, but it didn't have enough time to really wrap it up. And part of that, I think, is because of the subplot. And the subplot is basically the candy people slowly descending into chaos because they think they have killed Finn and PB out of an attempt to get them out of the room, because earlier Mr. Cupcake was trying to open the door to let Finn and PB out, and his sheer strength just crushes the doorknob. So they fire a cannon at the door, and they think that they've killed them. So now they've started this anarchy, trying to see, you know, who gets to be the new face of royalty and all that. And while I'm fine with subplots. I have no problem with subplots. I feel like this subplot took away from what could have been a proper character development episode with Finn and Princess Bubblegum. Because like I said before, it starts something. It drew me in when the episode started, and I realized, oh, this is a character development plot. It drew me in because I liked henchmen. In an old video I made with the top 5 episodes of season 1, Henchman was pretty high up on the list. I think it was number 2, because I just love that sense of character development and not necessarily having to worry about anything. And the thing is, Henchman had sort of a subplot as well, with Jake trying to save Finn because he thinks Finn is miserable and is being enslaved by Marceline. But the difference between that subplot and the Pajama War subplot is Jake's subplot in Henchman is a lot shorter. It's like, between everything that happens, Jake comes on for like maybe 30 seconds, and then it's back to the A-plot, and it's just like, his subplot is like a joke. His subplot is played as a joke. And when I mean that, it's like, when it gets to a subplot, it's delivered in the form of a joke. So it's like, it doesn't feel like any time is really wasted, but the subplot to Pajama War, and I don't even know if it's a subplot, it might be the main plot, because the name of the episode is the Pajama War. This candy people anarchy feels like, because I'm pretty sure it takes up half of the episode, and it feels like, and it being there really makes it seem like it's not giving the other plot proper justice. It's not letting the other plot develop fully enough. And while we're on the note of the subplot, the subplot itself, I believe the subplot had a lot of potential, but I don't believe it reached the maximum potential it could have reached. Like, to me, the whole anarchy thing really only started to get interesting near the very end, where Crunchy is all like, I am the supreme overlord now, and there's this pit where the explosion was before, and they're about to throw Starchy in. That's the kind of stuff I wanted to see from that subplot. If they got to that point faster, I believe I would have liked the subplot a lot better, but it's really slow to get to that. Like, that part is right at the end, and I would have been interested to see a Candy Kingdom dictatorship from Crunchy, but we don't get that, because I felt it was too slow to build up to it. But the thing is, I don't know if I should count that against it necessarily, because it wasn't trying to make that end point like its main eye catcher of the episode. It's just, I think it's just played for as a joke to see how far things have gotten. But I think things should have gotten that far to begin with. But hey, all I have to say is that subplot doesn't feel like it pushed the envelope enough. It doesn't feel like it reached its maximum potential. So this subplot is like shooting itself in the foot and killing a bird with a stone at the same time, because not only is the subplot itself not very fulfilling, but it's also, like I said, like I keep saying, it is taking up valuable time that could have made the A-plot feel more complete. But enough about the subplot. Back to the A-plot. There is a scene where Finn and Bubblegum are talking in this weird forest-like area, which looks really nice, by the way. One thing I want to touch on, actually, before I keep going, is like the shift in moods. Because, like, the mood, the tone when the episode focuses on Finn and PB, there's, like, lots of greens and lots of blues and lots of brighter, happier colors, and then when it shifts back to the Candy Kingdom, there's like lots of orange and brown, and it's like you feel that tone shift. If there's anything this episode does right, it's with that tone shift. It's with the colors. It's spot on, and it's something I noticed like nearly right away. And if I have to give this episode props on anything, it's handling that tone shift with the colors really well. But yeah, while they're in this forest place, PB gives this sort of monologue to Finn, where Finn is all like, "Aren't you afraid that the candy people back at the kingdom are just gonna mess everything up like they always do?" And PB's like, "Nah, I've gotten used to like people making mistakes in front of me and being okay with it." And I understand what they were trying to do in that scene. They were trying to develop PB's character a bit more, and like show how she's developed a little bit more over the past few episodes. But and they've done that before. I can't, the episodes they've done stuff like that in with other characters aren't necessarily coming to mind right now, but I know they've done scenes like that before. But this scene in particular, it feels, I'm sorry, it just feels a tad forced. It feels a tad forced. PB says, I've trained myself to become okay with people making mistakes around me and being okay with it, but I don't feel like she has done anything really to warrant saying that. Whenever that's been done for another character, it's either been exemplified in like a previous episode or in that same episode. I don't think the same really applies to Princess Bubblegum. Maybe I'm just not remembering when it happened, or maybe it just isn't significant enough in my brain, but I don't remember anything happening to Bubblegum along those lines that warrants her saying that. So that mini speech of her just kind of comes off as forced. One thing I like better is when Finn is getting the text from Jake and he shows it to PB. He's like, "You're not gonna like it, but here," and PB gets all wide-eyed, that sudden, that natural state of panic, and then she calms down and she's all like, "You know what? I'm gonna worry about it later." I like that. I feel like that should have come before the previously mentioned scene, because yeah, it would have been in the same episode. It might have felt a little bit ham-fisted, but at least it would have warranted her saying it. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm still focused on PB's character from the cooler, which was the episode before this one, where she actually acted like quite the scumbag. PB's been a scumbag in a lot of episodes. And I'm not saying this is a bad episode because of PB. In fact, PB is my favorite character in the entire cast of Adventure Time. Princess Bubblegum is my favorite character. And part of me feels like that's the only reason I'm giving this episode a little bit of slack, because I thought to myself, if Princess Bubblegum wasn't in this episode and was replaced with someone else, like some other girl, like would I just flat out say this is a bad episode? Like, I don't know, because it only has really little things going for it, and everything else is just, I don't know, it just makes me feel like the episode is just there. Like, I know this episode had lots of potential being a character development episode. It had tons of potential, but I just don't believe it fulfilled any of it. It starts, and it feels like it just stops in the middle of the tracks, like, oh, episode's done, we gotta wrap it up. I don't even know if I touched everything I wanted to touch on. This recap has been really jumbled up. I don't even think I conveyed my points properly and clearly. But one other thing that I don't believe I fully established on was this whole thing with Finn and Princess Bubblegum. I cannot tell, and I don't know if this was the intent of the episode, but I legitimately cannot tell whether Finn is trying to try his odds again with Princess Bubblegum, or if he's just, like, so broken down with disappointment that he's just like, I'm not even gonna try to get with anyone anymore. I just need some person to be a friend with, and Bubblegum might be his answer to that. I don't know. This episode is kind of vague with that, and I kind of like it, and I kind of don't like it at the same time. I feel like I would have liked it more if it had more of a concrete ending, like Henchman did, where you felt like, hey, these characters are closer now. And while I do feel like Finn and PB are closer now, I would really like to know in what way. But that's a certain aspect I'm not necessarily going to count against the episode, because in a way, I feel like that was intentional. So the whole vagueness of Finn's motivations throughout this whole thing, I like him, but I don't like him at the same time. And I just stated why I don't. I feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over again, because that's just the main thing. That's just the main thing of this episode. It's not done. It's not complete. It doesn't feel complete. I really don't know what else to say about this episode, and I feel like a jerk because I haven't really provided an alternative motive other than to cut out the subplot. Like, that is my solution, basically, to this episode. To just cut the subplot. And I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm not an expert when it comes to stuff like this, but it feels like the subplot is the thing that brings the episode down. I've said it like a million times already, but I guess that's my whole main point of this recap. The subplot causes a domino effect that just ruins the rest of the episode. Subplot and Henchman followed along with the episode. It didn't bring another plot to a halt. We didn't have to wait. It was for a few seconds, The plot and the subplot were intertwined. The plot and the subplot for this episode were very separate. The only connection being that Finn and PB are people. That's it. So, I really don't know how to end this recap, because I know I've been coming across like I really hate this episode, and I don't hate this episode. It was just, I'm just disappointed in this episode, because I know it could have been a lot more if the priorities were just put in the right place. So, with that, I suppose I'm just done with this recap, because I don't know what else to say. I don't really have a side note like I had for Merry Christmas Mordecai. I'm just done. This episode just left me really empty. I suppose that's all I have to say about it. If you disagree, if you think this was a fantastic episode, then by all means, explain to me, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic way. I mean, really, feel free to write down in the comments why, you really love this episode or really like it. And if you're like me and just are disappointed in it, but for a different reason, feel free to say that too. I'm open to hearing other people's opinions. And, if you have a different opinion than me, that's totally fine. I'm just one opinion on the internet. And, with that, I suppose that is the end of this recap. I'll see you guys next time for the next recap, which will probably be Sad Sacks from regular show. No guarantees. It's just a thing I'm planning. So, with that, I will see you guys later. Goodbye.